Photoshop Senior Edition, folks. We're going to work on a Christmas card, and what we're going to learn today would apply to any seasonal card, or just a get well card, or sympathy, or whatever. All these elements will come into play. So the first thing we need to do is come up with a blank slate, so to speak. We need an area to work in. So we just go to File, New, and in here we want to change this to a 5 by 7. So we'll change that to inches instead of pixels. So the width, it'll be a horizontal, so we want the width to be wider and the height 5 by 7. We are going to print this, so it should be 300 resolution. Now, if we were going to actually mail this to someone, this would fit into an A7 envelope. You have to be mindful of the size that you use, so you have a actual envelope to put your finished work in. You obviously don't want to fold it. You don't want to send it in a great big manila envelope if you oversize. So this 5 by 7 will fit in an A7 envelope just fine. As you can see here, the A7 envelope, if you go with a smaller card, a 4.5 by 6 1/8, A6 envelope, and so forth. So let these be your guide. Any larger than a 5 by 7 would not be a traditional card. So everything else here is just fine. We want the background to be white. We could change that if we wanted to very quickly, but you have a color picker right here, so if you click that you can choose any color you want. But for this card we're going to go with white, and we just go ahead and click OK, and it'll open up inside of Photoshop and give us the space that we asked for. Let's go ahead and name this. So we'll do a file, save as, and we're going to call this Christmas card. And we want to keep this a PSD file. And I usually always put an underscore between words. That's a habit from my webmaster days, but it has served me well. We know that this is a space. Just put it on my desktop for now. If I had another place to put it, I could put it somewhere on a D or iDrive, or whatever we've got where we want to store it, and click Save. So now, as we work on this, all we have to do is hold down the Control or Command key on a Macintosh and hit the letter S as in Sierra, and we will continually save back to that Christmas card file that we've got on our desktop. So we're ready to go. We need to import our subject matter. So I've went to File, Open, and I want to select this kitty cat right here, and I want to select this cat. So I'm holding down the Control key, and this cat. Those are the three cats that I need, and I'm going to click Open. So now we've got all three images, and we have our Christmas card. So the first thing that we need to do is knock our kitty cats out from here to put on our Christmas card image. So what we need to do is make a loose selection around the subject. Now you can see, I'm going to make this larger, Control or Command 0. You can see the cat image is rather soft. This was done with a cell phone, so it's not high resolution. The better the resolution, the easier it is to make a knockout and put them on a different layer, because we just can't see the detail. And normally, if we have a nice resolution on the image, we can see the fine cat hair around the edges. That's the purpose of the refine edges, is to get as much detail as we can. So I'm just going to use the lasso tool and make a general selection around the cat. And there's, some in the background is going to be the same color as the subject. So we're going to have to do a little extra work. Make sure that's big enough. I held down the Shift key so I could add to this. And if I hold down the Alt or Option key, I can subtract. Now notice, when I subtract, I start from the outside of the marching ants, hold down my Alt or Option key, and I start out here and make a little hook. Then I go into the area that I want to get rid of, and as soon as I make the turn, I can let go on the mouse and it will snap to the other end. So let's do that again here, a little hook, and let go. And right down here, a little hook, let go. So that makes our selection making process a little easier. Let's add a little bit here. So I'll hold down my Shift key. Now I want to add a little bit of area in here, so I go inside and make the little hook. Start like right there, drag around, and then I let go, and it adds that area. Alright, so now we're ready to go to Refine Edge, and you see how it knocked the kitty cat out of that image, and you can put it on whatever one of these you want to work with. I like the white. And all we need to do, it defaults with the brush on. You don't go over here and select any brush. It defaults with its own Refine Edge brush. This is a little bit large, so I'm going to make it a little smaller with the bracket key. Left bracket key will make it a little bit smaller. Let me undo that. And we just paint around the area. Again, because this is low resolution, this is going to have a little bit more of a problem, and it's not going to get the fine detail. And we just let go. You see the artifacts, that's not really a big problem. We'll take care of that with the mask, because we get right down here and new layer with layer mask. Make sure that's on. You can also try the decontaminate colors and see if that improves. In this case it doesn't. Sometimes when it's already in on a layer with the background that it's going to go on, decontaminate will even be more obvious of a help. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. So now we have our mask over here on the cat. So if I right click on that and disable it, you see we have the whole image there. We've just masked the grass out. So I'm going to re-enable that. Now I'm going to turn on a paintbrush, or you can just press the letter B, and we're going to paint with the default colors, black and white. Notice when I clicked on the image, the default colors, or the colors that I've been using, are in my color picker. But once I click on the mask, which is where we want to paint right now, it turns into black and white. So with black on top, I'm going to make my brush smaller, and not quite that small. I need to make sure the opacity is up, and then I just start painting to get rid of any of that little shadowy stuff. And up here, so it gives us a chance to do some painting. I'm going to make my brush smaller yet to get in here close. Now you want to make sure that you've got a nice soft brush. Any soft brush will do. Make sure the hardness is all the way to the left, which is 0 hardness, otherwise soft. And then you start painting. Adjust your brush, and as we get close to the body, you see it starts softly doing away with the artifacts from the previous layer. So you got to be careful. You don't want to erase, or you're actually not erasing, you're masking over here in the layers palette. You're just adding that black area that masks things out. Okay, we're going to say this is okay. Now, like I say, if this were higher resolution, you'd see more cat fur and maybe even the whiskers coming out to the edge. All right. So now we need to take this and put it into our Christmas card. So we're going to click and hold this down, drag it up to the Christmas card. It opens. You drag it down into the image and let go. This way it allows you to have the mask along with it. If you have the older versions of Photoshop, this is CC 2015, and that didn't work, you need to go ahead and bring the cat image, all these cat images, directly into your Christmas card and knock them out there, because you want to be sure and have that mask. So let me show you how I would have done this had I not had the ability to drag and drop this in. Okay, back on this cat layer, I would just go ahead and do a Control A, which puts the marching ants all around the image. Control C, as in cat. Go back to the Christmas card and do a Control or Command, V as in victory. And there's our image. So let's go to the other images. Control A, Control C, back to the Christmas card, Control V as in victory. Then to our other image of the cat, Control A to select all, Control C to copy it, back to the Christmas card, Control V for victory. Alright, notice that all of these images are low resolution and they're different sizes. If I click on the Move tool or press the letter V for victory, I can move the images wherever I want. If I want to select the next cat image, I can hold down my Control or Command key and it will pop to the right layer that we clicked on, and then you can move it. And Control, Command, click on that one and move it. So we're going to have to make these bigger in order for this to work, because we're going to fill this entire screen with objects, and we want the cats are our subject, so we want them, to at least be an equal size. Even this cat is a little bit too small, so I'm going to do a Control, click on it, and then a Control T as in Tango, and make it about that size. Double click inside of it or hit enter. I'm going to Control or Command click on the smaller picture and do a Control T for Tango, and I'm holding down the Shift key as I drag. If you don't, you can really mess up your image in a hurry. So hold down the Shift key and make the cat bigger. Double click or hit enter. I'm going to leave this size for now. We're not going to worry about it. Now I don't need these other images, so I'm just going to close them. Tell Photoshop I don't need them. And now we just have the Christmas card image to deal with, and that simplifies things in a hurry. So let's go back up to this image. I'm going to click, Control click or Command click on it, and I'm just going to do the same thing with it that we did a while ago. Let's make it bigger. So I'm holding down with my left pinky, holding down the Control or Command key. My index finger is on the space bar, and I'm just clicking, and wherever you click, that's where it's going to be the center of the enlargement area. So if I click on this it's going to zoom in on it. If I just do the Control minus and plus, it just enlarges the image on the whole. So I want to zoom back out a little bit, so let's do Command or Control minus so we can see the entire cat. Select the lasso tool again, and we can just make a general selection around it. as you saw already, it's not that big a deal if the selection is all that good. We're just making a separation. Now, let me add that in. So I'm holding down the Shift key. Actually, I can get rid of a bunch of that. I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key on a Mac. And that's pretty good. I don't, like I said, we don't have to be anywhere near perfect when we do this. So, Refine Edge, right up here at the top, this little black button pops it out. Now we've got it on white. We're just going to paint around the kitty cat. It doesn't have to be painted all at the same time as you see me going all the way around. You don't have to do that. But notice I am painting all of that out to the edge and not taking it into the kitty cat. Just want to make sure I've got it all selected. And then there's where I started. We let go. And again, we get the crazy edges around it because, again, it's, as you can see, we've got the crazy edges around it again, but that's okay. That's the great part about putting this layer mask on it. So when we click OK, it's going to take it back into regular Photoshop and we can work on this mask. This is what happens when it's low resolution. It'll vastly improve with a higher resolution image. So let's just click OK and let's paint on the mask. So here's the mask right here beside the image. Make sure the white is around it. Notice that the colors changed over here to black over white. If we have it on the cat, the image itself, these are the colors I was working using previously. But on the mask, it'll be black and white. So let's turn on a brush, B, or just click on the brush tool, and let's begin painting with black and make some of this stuff go away. Let's turn the opacity all the way up. Now the key to doing this on a critter that's furry, shall we say, is you don't want a hard brush, but then you don't want too soft a brush. See what we're getting at the edge? So if I switch this to white, I can paint that right back in. So let's click up here on the brush editor and let's take the hardness up a little bit. So we're taking it off being extremely soft to putting a little bit of a harder edge on it. So now painting with white, I want to paint with black, so I toggle it with the letter X, and now see it's a much firmer, solid edge, and we're really knocking down the cat fur. But let's take it back this way a little bit and continue, and you can see now a little softer. This is much better brush for a cat. My wife and I had a cat for years and years and years until our house burnt and we lost our cat, and it still is not the same without her around. Cats aren't easy, at least we haven't found it to be an easy process to find the same personality again. So let's just say that this is gorgeous, and we're done on this image for now. So let's turn this off and let's turn on this cat. That's the one we just had, so I'm gonna throw that one away. Let's turn this one on and let's go find it. So I'm holding down the space bar, and remember we've got a navigator up here and there's the cat. So sometimes this is a good route to go. If your navigator isn't showing, you can go up to Window and turn on the navigator. Also, you might want to check your window workspace and make sure you're on photography, and that should be up there by default. So we need to do the same thing with this cat. Notice the back end's chopped off in the frame. So that doesn't matter. We'll just put this cat up against the left-hand side of the image. Okay, so it'll look natural that way. So okay, let's turn on the lasso tool, and we're going to go around the cat again. Now just let go. Now obviously we're going to have white in here, which is going to affect how the refine edge works. So we turn on the rectangular marquee tool, get that back with a Control Z, and we want to subtract from the selection we have. So if I hold down the Alt or Option key on a Mac and click out there, we can just take it right up to that edge. Same down here, hold down the Alt key or Option key on a Mac and take away from that. I went around the cat's whiskers here because that's an important part of the cat's whole look, but because the fact the resolution isn't very high, it's going to zap those. Okay, it would do a good job at 300 resolution, but we are not going to worry about that. Click on the refine edge, and now this brush, remember, is there by default. We don't go over here and grab another brush. This is the brush in refine edge, so I can just start going down here, and I don't have to paint the whole thing in order to make this work. I can just do little bits and let go, and you see it's not really knocking that out. Don't know why, but we can handle that. I'll go over that again, and kind of saw the whiskers there. Don't know why it's not doing anything with this down here. Again, we won't worry too much about it. Alright, we need to turn on new layer with layer mask and click OK. So we've got a little work to do on the mask again. So select the mask, select the brush, and let's make the brush a little bit bigger, and we'll just start cleaning some of that up. A little bit smaller around the ear, and back in here. And you'll know if your brush is too soft, you're going to see the edges turn semi-transparent. It's tried to knock out the fur, it just didn't have enough info to do it. So we need to zoom in on this area down here. So I'm holding down with my little pinky finger on my left hand, holding down the Control key or the Command key on a Mac, and the space bar is being held down with my index finger. Let's see if we can't soften that just a little bit more and get up here. And the trick is you don't want to get up into that and just kill the fur out. So I'll press X and bring the details back. Press X again to start painting, and we get my brush smaller. And you can, take your time and get some more of these details. See, we got some cat fur in there. If we were doing this with the eraser and we mess up, there's no going back. That information is gone. So a mask can really save our hide. And you can get up there as far as you want. And we're okay here. We're not going to get carried away. Okay. See some fine hair here. Well, I like that. And let's just take this down a little bit. And we're looking good around here, a little bit there, and okay, now let's zoom out. Control or Command 0. So we see that back edge. Let's I didn't transform it this time. I had to redo some of this, so it's back to being small again. My computer froze up. Alright, so now we've got this one to do, and I'm going to just, we've already seen it on 2, so I'm just going to speed this up. Okay, I went ahead and knocked out the black cat, and you notice along the tail and the hindquarters, we've got more of the hair that actually, or the fur, sorry, and the underbelly, and a little bit up in here. So, depends on the image, sometimes, or all the time, how much detail you get, whether you get the fur or not get the fur. Alright, so we're done painting on that one. Let's turn all these on. Looks like we've got a copy there. We're going to get rid of some of these copies because we asked for a new layer. So I'm going to kill this one. I just want the ones with the mask on it. Now we got our 3 kitty cats. So zoom out a little bit. Now this cat, again, if I want to select it, I can turn on the move tool and hold down the control or command key, and it will find the right layer, and then we can move that cat wherever we want. So we need to make it a little bit bigger, but we're not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to place it like right over there, and I'm going to control or command click on the black cat, move it down, control or command click on the other cat, and we can have it, you know, any of them anywhere we want to. So we need to start building the image. We have our 3 subjects here, and it doesn't look anything like a Christmas card at this point, so let's get started on that. I'm going to bring the this cat back away from this edge for now, and I'm going to move them all up a little bit because we're going to put a border on this for starters. So to do that, we need to click on the rectangular marquee tool, and what we want to do is make an even selection all the way around the image. So if you don't have your ruler on right now, and this applies to all Photoshop editions, just hold down your control key and press R. Control R as in radio, and that'll bring up your ruler, because what we need right now is to take our cursor, go up into the ruler, click and hold, and drag down a guide. So we want this guide to be the same all the way around. So I go over to the left hand side, and then I can drag a guide over to here. Let's drag another one for the bottom, and another one for this side. There we go. So this is going to be our frame. Alright, so this should pop when I make the selection. It should pop right into those guides. Alright, now this one appears to be a little thinner than all the others, so I'm going to hold down my Alt or Option key, click and drag to kind of bring that over just a little bit more. Now notice how it keeps wanting to snap. If you hold your control key down at the same time, it'll let you move that and ignore that pop. So now we're going to say that this is the same thickness as the others. Now what we need to do is fill an area with white or whatever color that you want the border, and you're not stuck with it. No matter what color you make it, you can change it anytime you want. But we need a new layer. So I'm going to click the very top layer, and then I'm going to click the new layer icon, and I want to put my frame on this layer, and I'm going to call it frame. And it's going to be very helpful if you name your layers when doing a card, because there's going to be a lot of repetition, a lot of layers. Alright, so now if I fill this, it's going to fill the area inside with white, which is not going to be productive. So what I want to do is go up to Select, down to Inverse. Now everything outside the original marching ants are selected. So we already have white as one of our colors in the color picker. If you don't press the letter D for default, then you'll get your black and white. And to paint or fill with white, we just hold down the Control key or Command key on a Mac and hit backspace. Now you didn't see it, but if I turn that off, you can see the transparency because we have the background and everything turned off, and you see the white. Now, if you don't want the guides there anymore, or if you ever want to move the guides from place to place, let's turn the marching ants off with the Control or Command D, as in dog. Click on the Move tool, and you can move the guide wherever you want to. Notice it changes the way that tool looks if you get to the line. I'm just going to drag it back into the ruler so these are no longer in the way. It can be disturbing if you work around those all the time. So we've got our frame, and why not in the meantime make it so we can see the frame, and we can do that by just putting a drop shadow on it. So I'm going to go down to the bottom where the FX is, click on drop shadow, and you see instantly we have a drop shadow, but I'm going to make it bigger. So I'm going to make a little distance in it. I'm going to make a difference in the size and maybe a little bit of a spread. Now you can really see inside, and you can change the angle that the shadow is going to fall. That's up to you. And I'm going to turn off global light because I don't want other things affected by this drop shadow. I'm going to click OK, and now we can see with all these things turned back on, we can see the drop shadow and the frame and all that. So that's cool. Now, how about at least to add something to this that we can identify, how about we add a Christmas tree? Now there's all kinds of trees out there that on the internet I'm sure that you can grab, but there are also trees built into Photoshop that we can use. You don't have to make a selection anywhere, you don't have to use the pen tool. You simply go to Filter, down to Render, and Tree. I apologize for folks using older ones, older versions of Photoshop that don't have this one. In your case, I would say you probably need to go find an image that has a tree in it, extract it, and you can put it in here. This doesn't look like a super real tree by any means, but it's going to be fine for this image. So we got our real cats, but everything else is going to be computer generated. Presents and decorations and so forth. So let's look at the settings, and you can control the direction that the light is going to be coming from, the amount of leaves. We can make it a lot more sparse. You can Charlie Brown Christmas tree if you want. Branch height, so you're basically moving it up from the trunk. So I like to bring it down where the branches are close to the base. Branch thickness, you see the main trunk is thickening up, but you're really not affecting the leaves or anything with that. Now if you look under base tree type, here are all the different kinds, and they go way off our recording area. But these are the different kinds of trees that are available. You've got a regular pine tree, and it's going to generate that. It looks a little different. Spruce tree, I think, was the other one. Let me find that real quick. Right here. Sometimes people use spruce for Christmas. Ash, there's just all kinds of different trees. Elm tree. This one is stylized tree 2, that we're going to use for our Christmas tree. Alright, so, and then you can change the shape of the tree, make it more or less Christmassy or more and more full. You can randomize the shapes. I'm going to go with something, let's go back down here. You can do this until you're totally satisfied. And we're going to click OK. So there's our tree, and whoops, Control Z. I need to make that on its own layer because it put it on top of our frame, right? So now it's got the drop shadow on it and everything. We don't want that. So Control Z to get rid of that. Control Alt Z if you accidentally clicked an extra time. So let's create a new layer. And now go back, and all we have to do is go to the very top. That will be the same one that we just generated. So there's the tree. Now we probably would want to put the tree in the background. We don't want the cats hidden by it. So let's just bring the tree down and then just click a hold and drag it down, and now it's behind the cats. Again, we can transform this. Now if you're going to change it, and we may, as we design this Christmas card, we may change it multiple times. So I'd recommend turning it into a smart object. So highlight that layer, and then you want to convert it to smart object. So now it's got the little crazy icon on the layer, and we can reshape it to our heart's content. So let's do a Control T, and we can spread this tree out and make it much bigger. We can, change it any way we want to. Let's take it down like it's coming into the scene, and let's just go ahead and hit enter. The tree is transformed, and we can move it up if we want to. We can create a little thing here to make it look like it's in the image, or holding the tree up. Again, we can move the cats. So Control with the move tool on, and then we can put the cats down wherever we want to. Now notice it's important when you're going to use your pets or somebody else's pets to make your images that you photograph them the way you would like them to look in the card. For instance, if you wanted a dog walking in an image, I know that sounds crazy, but you can make a dog look more like they're walking if you hold something up and have them beg. Same thing with a cat. You can get a cat to stand up with a little bit of effort. They're very independent, but they'll work with you if you catch them in the right mood. So let's think again about this cat over here. So I held down the Control key and just move her down over here. So it doesn't hurt if it's chopped off, unless all your cats are chopped off. Then maybe you're going to have a little more of a problem fixing that. But now that we've got a tree in the image to kind of scale everything with, let's make this cat a bit bigger. So if we're going to transform it again very much, it'd be a good idea to make it a smart object or a smart layer. So let's do a Control T now, hold down the Shift key and hit enter or double click. The quality should not be affected very much. Okay, so this cat looks a little bit bigger than this cat really, but we're just kind of positioning things for now. We can have some effect on this cat. Control Command click on that and do a Control T. We can kind of push down the back a little bit, but you want to keep your eye on the face. You don't want to destroy the image. So if I hold down the control key, I can kind of bring the back end down a bit, doing things like this. And then double click. Now it's needed to be a smart object, so we can, do things like that and experiment. So let's undo that, Control Alt Z a couple of times, and get back to the regular shape that it was in. Let's check our history, make sure that's the other cat. Alright, now it's back to the size we want it. Let's right click on that layer and do a convert to smart object. So now that cat is smart. Let's go to this layer and convert it to a smart object. So now all of these are, but notice something very important. When I converted it to a smart object, it did away with the mask. So you've got to determine yourself, is my cutout good? Do they look exactly as they should? And I can afford then to do away with the mask. Because right now, we cannot alter these. We can mask them again and get rid of stuff, but we can't bring back any of that stuff we masked out, because it's now a smart object and it's collapsed into just this and no mask at all. Okay. Let's try again on this cat. Select that layer, Control T. Again, we can, try to push it down, but you don't want to distort the cat's body or face or any of that. We just want to kind of get that hind end down a little bit, right? So I'm going to hold down the Shift key now and make the whole image bigger at the same time. And let's try this. Let's see what it looked like before and what it looks like now. I think that works. Now, again, this would have been far better if the cat was, looking at us. So these two cats are. This one's very independent. He's looking away. Anyway, we're going to say this is good for now. All right. So Control or Command 0 to fill the screen to see what we've got so far. All right. Let's put some ornaments on the tree, or actually, let's put some stuff on this frame. Now you can leave it clean. It's up to you, obviously. I think the drop shadow makes this look 3D in a way. It's like we are looking inside this frame to see the animals. And we're going to put a drop shadow on the animals as well to build a little bit more depth. So let's think about putting something around this frame. Now it can be anything you see that's Christmassy or whatever this occasion is. You can put musical notes around it and all kinds of things. But right here is our tool. This is the custom shape tool, and what we want to do is click on where it says custom shape tool, and then we go up here to the top, and this is the actual place that the shapes exist. So if we click on that, and what I did was click over here on the gear, and I told it to load all of the special shapes that we have. So all of them are in here. If I scroll around, I can see all of them. Now what I thought might be kind of nice to have on the border or the frame was a snowflake, and it's in here. I just have to find it again. So if we look right here under the butterfly, here's a nice snowflake, here's another one and another one. You can use these and alternate them, but we're just going to use this one for right now. And I'm going to just click up there on the border, and I'm going to come over into the image and just click and drag, hold down the shift key to keep the shape just perfect. Now it looks pretty rough, but here's the shape. It tells you shape 1. Now what I'm going to do is load this as a selection, and to do that I just need to hold down the control key or command key on a Mac and click right on this box. Notice that turned into a selection. So I'm going to create a new layer, go down to the new layer icon, and in this layer I'm going to fill this with red. Now you can use whatever color you want to, doesn't make any difference, or you can have them white and just put a drop shadow on to give it a little elegance. It's totally up to you. Let's try this one as red though. So to fill it with red, because red's on top, hold down the Alt key and hit delete. If it's white on top, or I'm sorry, if you want to fill it with white, you hold down Control and hit delete. Alright, now I don't see the color in there, so let me look. A real important thing that I didn't pay any attention to, remember what's on top covers what's underneath. So right now the frame is on top, so we need to click, let's name this snowflake, and move it on top. So click, hold, drag, and drop it on top. Now I made it black so I could see it. When I paused, I turned it to black. So let's go back to red, and I can reselect this by holding down the Control key and clicking in there. Turns on the marching ants. Now Alt or Option backspace, then Control D to turn off the marching ants. So now you see the red snowflake. And if I use my arrow keys with the move tool turned on, I can put that snowflake anywhere in the frame I want to. Now we don't want to build a straight line pattern, that would look kind of ridiculous. And again, I mentioned we might want to create white snowflakes for the elegant look. So let me show you the difference. I'm going to load that selection again by holding down the Control key. It loads that up. I'm going to create a new blank layer. Now I'm going to fill this one with white. So to fill with white, I hold down the Control key and hit backspace, because white is the background color. Now if I do a Control D, you're not going to see the white pass in front of the red. I move that on down. Now the trick is to put a little tiny drop shadow on it. That's not a tiny one. So what I do is type in the numbers. I'll put like 1, 1, 1, and look at the sweet looking little, now I shouldn't have moved that yet. 1, 1. And let's just, we can move that drop shadow angle of the light wherever we want. Let's try a 2 for size. Let's try a 3. You can make this all the way, the opacity all the way to the right. You can change whatever you want. Obviously it's your snowflake. I'm going to go with a 6, and I can click OK, and then I can move that wherever I want to. So that's kind of an elegant looking thing. So let's try the white for a few minutes. I'm going to show you what I want to do is put snowflakes all around this image, but I want to vary the size. So what I'm going to do is hold down my Alt key or Option key on a Mac, and with this new snowflake I'm just going to click and drag. It gives me an exact copy, creates a new layer over here. Now the best thing to do is start right off, I'm going to throw that away, by naming this. So I'm gonna white snowflake. So now I'm going to hold down my Alt or Option key, drag, and I now have a copy of that white snowflake. But this time I'm going to do a Control T and make it a little smaller and hit Enter. So now I've got another size. Now I'm going to hold down my Alt or Option key and make it even smaller. Control T, hit Enter. So now I've got 3 different sizes and I've got 3 different layers. So what I'm going to do is put all of these in their own group. So I'm going to go down here and click on the group folder and call this top snowflakes, and just click over here, and I'm going to click and drag and drop each one of those snowflakes, those 3 that I just made. So now if I go up to the top snowflakes and turn off the eyeball, I've got 2 or 3 in there. Let's move that one in. Now they're all inside that folder. Now it's taken up a lot of room to see the drop shadows that each one of these has. Right out here is an arrow. If I click that arrow, they collapse. So now I've got these 3 snowflakes inside this group folder, and if I turn that off, the snowflakes go off. If I hit this little down arrow, that collapses all those snowflakes inside the folder where I don't see them. Now this is our red snowflake. I'm going to go with the white. I'm going to try to give it the elegant look. You can use whatever color you want, and while we're at it, let's copy the drop shadow that's in here by going right clicking on the FX, go down and copy the layer style. Now let's fold them back up and let's click on this red snowflake and go out here and right click and say paste layer style. Now our red snowflake has a drop shadow, and we can edit it. There's the drop shadow on the red snowflake. If I double click it, I can make this one a 2, and I can make this a 3. So you see the shadow jumped out to the side a bit. 1. Alright, just wanted to show you that. I'm going to get rid of the red snowflake because we're going to go with white. So here's our frame, and I'm going to collapse that so I don't see those effects. And did I just throw away? No, there it is. Okay. I don't need this shape anymore. This is what we made the snowflakes from. So I'm going to just click the trash can and get rid of that. We don't want a bunch of layers that aren't going to be helpful. So here's what we're going to do. Inside the snowflake folder are all of these snowflakes of different sizes. So what I'm going to do is control click. I want another small one. So I'm going to control or command click on it, then move my finger over to the Alt or Option key, and I've got all of those turned on. I don't really want that. Let me do a Control Z, and I just want one snowflake selected. So I'm going to control click. I'm not getting the different snowflakes. It's all going to the one folder. So what we have to do is come over here and we can put which snowflake is this. Okay, double click that and click in here LG for large. This snowflake is the medium. No, that's the small. So we double click here and put an SM. Nope, that tells us now this is the medium, right? So let's click on the small one with the Alt key or Option key down, and we're just going to stick it wherever we want to. Let's go to the large one. I've got two, yeah. This is the large white one, so I can just arrow key to put it down a little bit more, and then let's go get the medium, Alt or Option, and we can drag it wherever we want. And they don't have to be evenly spaced, but we just want to fill this top with those. So let's go with another small, and we move it, let's put it right there. And let's go get a large, and we'll move it in there, and I'm going to nudge it with the arrow key up a little bit. And let's do a medium. So we got to go down to the ones that don't have a name on them. Alt key or Option key, and let's use the arrow keys. Alright, so let's put another one over here. Let's go with a small one again. So we just use the Alt or Option key, and see what I did. I held down the Alt key and let go, and I got another one. So now let's just do away with that last one. Let's do a Control Alt Z and get rid of it. Now we can move this one over by itself. So now we have the top row all done. Alright, so now I can collapse this. They're all in here, right? So I'm going to do a Control J. Remember what a Control J does. It makes an exact copy of a layer. But let's see what it does to a group. Control J. Now we have top snowflakes. Let's double click that and call this one bottom snowflakes. And we can get rid of the word copy. Click. Now I'm going to, with this one selected, I'm going to click and drag it down. So yep, we have our exact copy, and I'm going to use my arrow key to nudge it a little bit. Now they're independent also, so if I go into the bottom, I can click on any of these I want to, see where it is. So we're on the right. Let's get one, yeah, let's get that one. So with that one highlighted, I'll just use my arrow keys right and left, and I can make it look a little bit different than the top ones by moving some of these around just a little bit. Now we've got a top and bottom. Let's close this, and let's do a similar thing with the side. We won't put as many snowflakes on the side, but let's create a group and call this left side snow. And here I'm going to borrow one of these large ones. So let's just click on it, and I'm going to hold down my Alt key or Option, and whoops, hold on here. Let's turn that off and on. Yeah, I wasn't watching the right spot. So I created it down here. Now we're taking it to the side, and I need to put this layer that I just created, which is that left side snowflake, drag it into left side snow. Alright, now let's go and get a small one. So Alt key, now I drag it that far, and then I let go with the Alt key. I can put it up here. Now then this one needs to go up into left side group. So now I've got these two on the left side. let's get a medium right here and click, and there goes our medium. And then let go of the Alt key and let's drag it up. That's our new copy. We'll get it as high as we can, and then we just bring it on up and drop it. Alright, so we've got our 3 to work with. Let's make another medium, and let's hold down the Alt key or Option key and drag it down right in there. And let's get a small one, and we'll drag it over there, and let's get a large one. And I don't know, there it is. And we need to make sure it's in left side. It is. Alright, so let's click on this one. I'll have to find it. You can't use the Control or Command and click to get the individual snowflake selected, because it goes right to the group folder instead of to the individual item. So let's just turn these off. Oh, that's the one I need right there. So I'm just going to move it a little bit like that. So now we have all of these in the left side. We're going to do a Control J and call this right side. And it doesn't need to be copy. Right side snow. So now we just take this entire side and go over here, and we're gold. Again, if you don't want this pattern to look the same over here as it does over here, then you can go inside and let's see, let's change that top one there. There it is. So we can use our arrow keys and maybe take it this way, and let's go to that one and nudge it with the arrow key forward and up a little. Alright, so we've made our snowflakes a bit different. And of course we could have also used the other snowflake in there intermittently as well. So, you know, this doesn't mean this is the perfect way to do it. It's just the way I did it. But the cool thing is all of the snowflakes now are right inside these 3 folders, and they're not taking up all of that room because they all have drop shadows and all that stuff on them that we can still alter if we need to. Alright, we've done a lot of stuff, so we should be saving. Control S to save what we have so far, and now we're gold. So let's build maybe a Christmas present. Let's put some Christmas presents in the image, and let's just take the rectangular marquee tool and let's make a tall image, something like that maybe. And then we have to figure out what color we want to make this present. Now I'm going to need to put that under the frame, so I'm going to go to the first layer under the frame and create a new layer and call this one present left side. And I'm going to, let's find something here that's maybe a powder blue color. And to fill it with this color, I hold down the Alt or Option key, hit backspace, and there's our first present. Now Control D to turn off the marching ants, and I'm going to move this over, so I need to turn on the move tool, press the letter V, and just slide that present over there. Obviously now we need to move the cat, but we're not going to worry about the cat just this moment. Alright, so we want to put a little drop shadow on the box. We don't want it to be particularly large. Try a couple of numbers in here and see what we get. And we can bring that drop shadow out if we want to. Let's change the size a little bit and drop the opacity. So now we've got a nice little drop shadow on there, and we can just click OK. If we want to change it, we certainly can. So let's put some ribbon on this present. To keep it lined up, I'm going to control click on it to make sure it's selected. Let's put it up here for a second. So I'm going to turn on my rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to click the new layer icon and put ribbon, and I'm going to just drag a selection, and I'm holding down the space bar, which allows me to move that selection around a little bit. And I've got extra pixels overlapping that are, don't worry about it, we'll fix that. Okay, white is our top or our bottom background color, so to fill this with white, hold down your controller command key and hit backspace. Alright, now we want to do the same thing going horizontally. We can put it higher up, we can cross it in the middle. I'm going to just put this ribbon, I guess, somewhere around the middle. You want the same thickness, so that's a little bit wider. So I'm going to hold down my Alt or Option key and drag a little area there, and that looks okay. So again, I'm going to fill it with white, Control Backspace, and there we go. Control D. Now the paint went over the top, went over the sides, and over the bottom. So what I'm going to do with the rectangular marquee tool on, I'm just going to make a selection and bring it up to the edge of the box and hit backspace or delete. And that chops off any extra ribbon that's on there. Same thing up here at the top. Hitting backspace each time, and now the ribbon's even. I'm going to put a little bow on here. I'm going to make it darker blue. Could have made it white, could have, whatever color. I'm going to return to my special characters in the custom shapes and click up here and look for something that I can turn into a bow. That's right. I'm going to take a shape that's up here now and make it. Now here's a bow that's pre-made. I can use that here. Let's just go ahead and use it. We'll change things up in a minute. We'll use that, and then we can just put that in there. Now it's black, don't worry about that. I'm going to control click or command click on this shape in the layers palette to load that as a selection. Now I'm going to create a new layer and call this ribbon, and I'm going to fill the ribbon with the blue. So I hold down my Alt or Option key and hit backspace, and we throw that away and hit Control D, and there's our ribbon. Alright, so I threw away the copy that gave us the little strange icon. This is our blank layer. This is our, I should have said bow on this one. Alright, let's put this whole package in its own group. So let's click on the group icon and package left. And I'm going to grab the bow and drag it up and drop it, ribbon, and the present. So now they're all inside. I'm going to collapse this. And if I open the package up, you see the 3 images that are in there. And I don't have them all working because that's on top and the ribbon needs to be under the bow. Now we're cooking. Now, with just the package selected, I'm going to turn on the move tool or press the letter V and whoops, Control Z that. Let's get these babies all turned on. Now that's package present isn't inside there. Now again, got to fix the order of things. So let's put it just below. It's still wanting to all move separately. So let's select them all, hold down the Shift key, and let's put this right down there. Now let's put the cat. The order is pretty important. With the Control key or Command key down, I clicked on the cat's head, and that brings the cat back up. So now we can bring the cat over like thus, and use the arrow keys to fine-tune it, so to speak. So now the cat is behind the present. Alright, then we can continue to make other presents as we see fit. I'm going to turn the package off or collapse it, and I'm going to make another copy of the package. Control J, and now we have 2 packages. This one I'm going to make smaller, so let's do a Control T. I'm going to rotate it around, hold down my Shift key to make it snap horizontally. I'm going to hold down my Shift key to change the shape and size. Double click, and I'm going to go inside this package, and this is package right. And let's open that up. So now we need the present. So I need to select the present itself. So I'm going to do a Control click to load that up. Let's make this a different color. So let's go up and get a red package or a color, and we'll fill this with that red. So we hold down the Alt or Option key and click that. Then we need to go to the bow and hold down the Control key and click on that square, which will load the bow color. So let's make the bow a much darker red. If you ever wanted to experiment on colors to use for bows and so forth, this might help you out. You can experiment. So let's go up to the bow, make sure that layer is selected, and our new color is the deep red. So Alt or Option backspace, Control D, and now we have a more red bow, but let's turn that bow, Control T, and we turn it this way, hold down the Shift key so it kind of lines up that way, and let's fine tune it with the arrow keys. So there that is. And we can put a little drop shadow on there, you know, kind of touch it up a little bit. Obviously too much there. Let's try these numbers out, and without the drop shadow. So you see those little details can make a huge difference. And I probably should square this up a little bit better so the ribbon or the white isn't off center. So there is that. I'm going to nudge the white up a little bit with the arrow key. See, it was down a little bit. So up arrow gets that wrapped. So now we can put this cat a little bit behind that present if we want to. So let's hold down the control key. Now that cat is there. So we want to take this package, the package right, and put it under that cat. So now that's going to actually put it behind the cat. Alright, so we can, if we want to bring it in front of the cat, obviously the package needs to change layers, but I kind of like the depth that's going on there. We might want to fade that drop shadow back there, so let's go package right and drop shadow. Let's take this opacity down and maybe spread that out. Oh, that's the ribbon, sorry about that. We want the package, the present, that's the body there, and open that up. And again, let's move that up, take the opacity down, spread it a little bit. There, that softened it out quite a bit, and also brought the depth up. Control 0, Command 0 lets us see the whole image again. And now we're going to save this again, and you can see we can keep making copies of those packages because all the stuff is right inside here to make another red one. We can change the color of it to gold, whatever we want to. We can put all kinds of packages in here, but I'm not going to take the time to do that right now. But we need to start working on ornaments. Okay, for the ornaments, we want to basically put them on the tree, right? So let's go down to the Christmas tree right here, and we're going to start by putting the new layer icon on there, which puts it right above, and ornament, and all we need to do is create a perfect circle. So we're going to click on the elliptical marquee tool now, hold down the shift key, and drag out a nice circle. Now the reason I'm doing such a big ornament is because we're going to do something special with it, and you need to be able to see that. So if we don't do it, you are definitely not going to see the trick here. So let's fill this with red. So it's not going to hurt to use that red again. So Alt key or Option key, backspace, and that's that deep dark red. Go ahead and keep the selection on there, and let's make an exact copy of this ornament. So Control J, and second you're going to see why. Go to Filter and down to Render and Lens Flare. Lens Flare allows us to make this look round. So we go over here and click and drag that onto that top left corner just a little bit like that. You should see immediately it doesn't look around there, but if you put that lens flare on, now it looks round. So let's take the brightness down, let's move that up a little bit, and let's click OK. So now you see the lens flare, and it does look more rounded. Let's blow it up even more so you can see the effect. Now that is on the top layer. What we want to do, let's redo that. I'm going to actually try to get rid of some of that ring. So I'm going to do a Control Alt Z and do it again. Filter, render, lens flare, and take this down a little bit more. Let's see how that looks. That's a lot better. So what I want to do is I want to keep the red ball shape that's right there, and I'm going to put a mask on this top layer because I want to get rid of some of that ring that's there. So I push on the brush and I'm going to change the opacity down low, and I'm just going to paint some of that edge away, and I think that's pretty good shape. Let's zoom out and see what it looks like. Yep, it looks like a ball. Alright, I'm going to drop this layer onto the previous layer, which is this, with a Control E. So now it's just one ball. Now I can do a Control T and size this whatever size I want, and it's still going to be I mean, I can make them tiny, but I want them to show. So let's just do a enter, and that completes the transformation. Now, so we're going to click on the new group icon, and we're going to have a new group for these ornaments to go into. So, and we're going to call this ornament. No, we don't need to put group. We want to drag that inside that folder. Now, whenever I make a new one, it's automatically going to be inside this ornaments folder. So let's go ahead and turn on the Move tool, press the Alt or Option key, and we have a new ornament. Let's keep doing that. And you are thinking, oh, this is going to be the most boring Christmas tree I've ever seen. They're all the same size and the same color. Now I let go of the Alt key to drag that down. Let's put another one over here. Now we've got all of these ornaments, and let's move this up. I'm holding down the space bar, and let's drag one off. Which one is that? Let's drag one off it. So Alt or Option, put that up there, and let's drag one down here. Put it out here. All right, now we start going through these one at a time. And which one is this? Okay, it's over there. Let's go to something that's close to the top. All right, let's Control T this, and let's make this a bit smaller. Hit enter, and let's see about this one. All right, let's highlight that layer, Control T it, hit enter. Let's go, where's the top one? It's going to be the last one, I guess, that I click. There she blows. Control T. Make that one even smaller. Okay, let's go down here. And let's make this one smaller. That's not the right one. Escape. Yeah, this one. Control T. We'll make it a little bit smaller. Let's see here. I want to find that one. Okay, Control T it. Make it a lot smaller. And I'm going to make a copy of it, Alt key, and let's just put one of those up there. Turn those others back on. And we can keep doing that to find all of them that we want. I want that one. Control T it. Hit enter. Alright, now here's what I'm going to do. Yes, it's boring to have all of these red. I'm going to try to find that top one again, because I want to move it. It's not in the best place. Now then, now what I'm going to do is change the colors on some of these images. And here's how we're going to do it. Alright, this ornament's right here. We go up to the hue saturation. If hue saturation isn't there, go up here, and we want to go to Window Adjustments, and then you should see, and then we want to click on that, and all we have to do is run the slider. Now notice the whole tree and everything in the image is basically going wonky. So click this little icon here, and it'll only apply the color change to the layer directly below. So now you see that ornament is now a purple color. Okay. So let's go on down and find some more. There's a good one. Again, with the color change. Click on that. We don't want to use the same color. There's nice blue. And let's go. You hopefully are getting the idea to how to change these. Each one of them could possibly be, or should be, their own color. So there we got a gold one, and we can go on down, keep going on down to all of these. Use saturation again. Click on the little icon here so it only applies it to the one. Let's crank up the saturation, and let's change that a little bit. Looking for the perfect color. Alright, let's go with that. And let's change one on the left hand side before I move on here. Alright, we'll go with this one. Use saturation on it. Click on that. And then we have an orange one. So do that on each one of the ornaments that you create. Let's back out with a Control 0 to fill the whole screen. And obviously all of these can be transformed to make them smaller, larger, and so forth. That's totally up to you. Okay, now I kind of think at this point we need a floor and a wall. And we could build a window, you know, just like we did the packages. It's totally up to you. But we can very easily create a wall and a carpet. So let's create the floor first. So let's just, for now, let's put it up here on top. We're going to click on the new layer icon, and this is going to be floor. And we're going to fill this floor. Let's go to the color picker and let's find a brown. And I'm going to use the rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to click at the very bottom of the image and just take it up as high as we think the floor should be. And we're going to fill that with that brown color. So brown's on top, we need to use the Alt Option backspace. So there's our beautiful floor. Control D to turn off the marching ants. Let's leave the marching ants on, because now we want to go to Filter, down to Noise, and we want to add noise. And make sure that you do it just this way, or you're going to have some issues. You want monochromatic selected, Gaussian monochromatic, and you can change the amount of noise however you want it. It's going to affect the way this looks. So if you don't get the same kind of a look at first that I do here, then you probably will want to change it. So I'm going to say about 30 is good and click OK. Now I'm going to go to Filter, and let's turn the marching ants off now, Control D. We're going to go to Filter and down to Blur, Motion Blur. Now what we want is 0 for angle, and we want to crank this up until we get this wood look. You can go real crazy, or just keep an eye on what we're seeing over here inside the image itself. So I'm holding down the Control, Command, space bar and clicking. So now you see we got a nice wood grain. If you want a fine wood grain, you can certainly do whatever you want with that. I'm going to go with something like this. Okay, now that layer, let's do a Control or Command 0, so we got the whole image. That layer is on top of everything. So right now the edges look a little funky, but that's going to go behind the frame. But sometimes you may want to use this little trick, and you need these edges to look right. So you do a Control T to transform it, and you just drag those ends over, and now it's all got the nice looking wood grain. It also can help you get more wood grain if you really drag out these edges. You see what's happening to the grain in there. All right, so sometimes you might want to do that. All right, let's put this back in where it needs to be. So let's drag it down. We can only drag so far because you can only see so much of the image. Need to get it down here where it's actually behind the tree, or it certainly will not work. Getting closer. And now it's behind the tree. So what we can do now to bring that down a bit, I think it looks pretty good, but we can do a Control T. Now let's do a Control 0 so we can see our handlebars. Hold down the Control key and you can flatten that out a bit. Just drag those corners out and down a little bit. Make sure your horizon line stays pretty even. Alright, then double click or hit enter, and that part's done. Now we need to make a wall. So let's click the new layer icon, double click here, wall, and we're going to do essentially the same thing. Now we want texture going down. So let's click on the color picker. We want something that's a lot lighter in color. Something maybe like that. That looked a little pinkish though. Let's go with that. So I'm going to fill the whole image up with this. So I'm going to hold down my Alt key or Option key and hit backspace. So now you see what we've got. That's okay. We now need to make vertical lines. So let's do a filter, render. Actually, we don't want that. We want noise, sorry. Add noise. And you can use the same amount of noise or maybe a little bit less. You can say that that's nice texture, whatever you want to do. Click OK. And now we're going to do the filter, blur, motion blur, but now we want this to be 90. So press 9, and now you see the pattern coming down, and you can make it a lot stronger, or you can make it a lot weaker by going this other way. So you can click OK. Now if this were on top, you'd probably see the same thing going on at the top and bottom, so you might want to do a Control T and bring those edges out a bit. Let's bring the floor above the wall so we have our floor back. Alright, now if you think the wall is still a bit too dark, you can always click on the wall and do a levels, and you can brighten that wall up however you want to. Totally up to you. It stays there as long as you want. Let's do a Control S. We've come a long way and not saved a whole lot. This cat in the middle now is starting to look smaller and smaller as we keep building all of these things. And we want to collapse this. That was one of the problems a while ago, getting around so much stuff. And we can call this wall and background group if we want to. So let's just create the new group and drop each layer into the group, wall and the floor, and floor into the group, and call this floor and wall. So now that's all inside there. I think this needs to be above the wall. Yes, lighten it up. So now all of these things are inside that group, floor and wall. We don't have near as many layers this way when using the groups. So to kind of push this along, you see there's all kinds of things that we can do. We can add more presence. If we have more cats, we can put more cats in. A little drop shadow on those guys I have mentioned earlier would be appropriate too. So let's click on the drop shadow for the left cat, and you see a little stuff right there. So what we're going to have to do is erase a little bit out there. My mask was definitely bad, or you wouldn't see that. I'm going to use the eraser, which I don't usually do, and I'm going to, I'm not going to do it because we're on a smart layer and I would have to render this. I think we're pretty much done with that cat, so we can actually right click and we can rasterize this, and now I can erase. I think we're pretty much done transforming and all the stuff with this cat. The one in the middle however, has a little problem. So hopefully that now will let me put a nicer drop shadow on. Yes. Alright, so we can click and drag that shadow around. See it move? And we can, don't want to get too crazy with it. You can bring the opacity up here down a little bit or up, whichever, and change the distance a little bit. We can make the size a little bit, because it's supposed to be a shadow off that wall. If we make it close like that, then it means the cat's right up against the wall, right? So it needs to be something more soft. Click OK. Now let's, that shadow looks fine. Let's make the guy here in the middle a bit bigger. I'm going to collapse that. And let's do the control or command click on there. Still not getting the right cat. Where's my cat? That's not it. This is it right here. Okay. We can do the same smart shadow on it. And I should have named the cats. Would have made this a lot easier. Let's see. This is that one. I'm going to right click because I want to copy that shadow. So I'm going to copy layer style, and then I'm going to go back up here to this guy and right click, and I'm going to paste the layer style. So now it's got a shadow on it. It's a lot heavier than what I want, so let's go fine tune this shadow, and you can see a little bit of the green from the previous image. So that's not cool either. And you can see garbage down there. Again, I could use the eraser and certainly fix that. Now he's closer to the wall, but we're worried more about the floor and making that look good. So I'm going to move that shadow up a bit. This comes from this area right here not being masked. I didn't paint that away on the mask, so kind of left us some garbage. Alright, let's go control minus here. Let's move this down, holding down the space bar. Let's put the drop shadow on this guy too. And that's the one. Right click and paste layer style. Let's fine tune it as well. Drop shadow, double click, and let's move this. I'm going to have to move it out of the way. Let's change the size. Let's kind of move it around a little bit and see what we need. Okay, we need to drop the opacity, change the size some more, change the distance. I like that a lot better. Let's do a control 0 to see the whole image. Now we've just gone so far into this, so many things that we've done. The video is getting pretty long. It's time for us to move on to the text. One thing I want to do to the tree though before we go. The tree's right here. I'm going to click on the use saturation, and I want to basically bump the tree. Now you got to click to affect only the tree, and we can kind of fine tune the colors of the tree if we want to. Turn the saturation up or down. It's up to us. And then a little bit of drop shadow on the tree. So we can right click and paste the layer style on it. It's a little heavy. That's okay because it's pretty close to the wall supposedly. And let's move it out of the way a little bit. Let's drop the opacity a little bit more. Size down a little bit. And let's say that's just hunky-dory. Alright, now we need to move on to the text, which is really for this pretty easy. but we're going to put it on the very top. So click on the very top of your layers palette and click T on your keyboard, or come over here and hit the T, and we want to put in a Mary, and that's way too big, and it went with our default wall background color. And let's just select that, and then we can come up here to the double T's. Now you can manually slide or change the font size, but right here, if we click and drag, we can control the font size very nicely there. Now the Christmas, obviously Christmas is a lot bigger than Mary, so changing that is not going to hurt anything. We can complete this by clicking the check mark or clicking the move tool, and you see the Mary. But we need to make a copy of this, because we're trying to cut time. We're trying to be efficient with our time. We can click and go through all the typing Christmas again stuff, but if you have a text and you got it tweaked just the way you want it, simply do a Control J of that text, and then you can click and move it over, and now double click the T and we type in Christmas. If you can spell. So you see Christmas is going kind of off the screen. So we're going to have to make that a little bit smaller, and so we need to make this a little bit smaller. But you really can't, they're close enough in size, you really can't tell that that's that much smaller. Let's just select this and just go down a little bit and click. Now I want to make, let's put a exclamation point in. Now we're off the screen. All right, I'm going to move that over. It turns into a move tool automatically once we move away from the letters, so we can move things around however we want them. If we try to move that down, obviously we're going to run into the tree. We can move the Mary up, but I like filling the space a little bit. All right, let's change the colors, and I should have done the color change before I did the Christmas. So let's pretend I didn't do the Christmas yet. All right, we're going to change the colors of Mary. So click on the color picker, and let's go for a nice red. Click OK. And I'm just going to fill this with Alt or Option backspace. Actually, we need to double click that and just go up here. It's a lot easier. And find, make it dark red if you want. You see it changes over here as you move it. So you can, you're free to select whatever color you want that to be. And now let's do a Control D and hit the move tool. Control D now. So now you see what Mary looks like. And that's, let's see, our font style, let's double click this, is Edwardian script. So it's a fancy script. If you don't have that, there's a jillion others, and there's free ones like on 1001fonts.com that are free. All right, let's do something else with this. Let's do a Control J. And now I'm going to kind of switch things up. I'm going to go, this is the copy I just made. So we got two here. One, and then this one. I'm going to click on the bottom one, and I'm going to move it slightly away, and now it's blurry. That's okay. Move it slightly away, and I'm going to fill this. Let's switch to the background color and make it, let's sample this tree color. Let's go a little bit darker. And so with this, let's do it again. Sample the tree and go a little darker. And let's See the color that's there? So you can kind of line that up. You want this to overlap a little bit. I'm using the arrow keys to move it around. And now, yeah, that looks okay. How about a drop shadow? We can put the drop shadow on here that we already grabbed. I'm not seeing it right now though. So let's go back here, click on FX, drop shadow, and it's really spread, so let's bring it in a little bit closer. Let's bring the opacity up. We want this to jump off the page. Now, once you've got this where you think you like it, just go ahead and click OK. I sometimes like to go with a thicker color to really make this 3D, the green that's under there. Right now, you know, the green's not really showing a lot. Let's double click that again. Let's get a lighter green, see if that doesn't show a bit more, and commit, and arrow keys again. Yeah, I like that a little bit more, I think. Okay. Now, if we're sure that we like these two together, if we're done with that, we can right click on the top one and we can rasterize the type. Now we can also, let me undo that real quick, we can also select both these layers and do a Control T if you want to bring it down a little bit. And what I would do now, let's look at it, Control 0. Let's move it up a little bit. Okay, now then we can right click and tell it to rasterize the type. So it did it on both of those at the same time. I'm going to click on the top one and do a Control E. So now all that is on its own layer. But there's nothing more I can do, and it kind of blurred a little bit. I can't edit this anymore, so it again probably belongs in its own group. Control Z and Control Z again, Control Alt Z, and I'm going to click on the group and say text. Alright, now I want the type. Oops, I didn't get back far enough, I don't think. Yep, I got to go back to here and before I rasterize the text. So click on the new group again, type Christmas text, let's just call it text, and I'm going to move both of these inside, and now they're both offset. So if I turn the group off, they're both off. Now notice when I drug it in, I put the green on top of the red, and you may like that. I think it's kind of got a cool look. Or you can click and drag and put the other layer back on top with the green underneath it. So we might again want to experiment with moving the green underneath just a little bitty bit. Don't make it so it blurs and is disturbing to look at, but we want that. It's kind of a green drop shadow and gives it a 3D look and feel. Okay, so we can call this Merry text, and then we're going to collapse that, and we're going to do a Control J, and we're going to call this one Christmas, and click that. Good. Now we're going to edit both of these. We double click the T and call this one Christmas, and we're going to do a Control A to select all the text, and then hit the Move tool to commit. Let's move that over here. We didn't get the quotation mark or the explanation mark on there, so let's add that. Move it up here where it'll show good. Now do the same thing. Let's commit. Do the same thing with the other Mary. Double click it and Christmas and explanation point. Commit and then drag that over. Now that is showing the drop shadow. So let's just move it in there again. Line it up with the arrow keys however you want it to show, and then turn that drop shadow back on again, and there you have Control-0 to fill the screen, and you've got your Christmas card. Obviously there's a lot of things that we could add to this, bringing other objects in to make this even cooler. One of the things that I would probably add, if I went down to the Christmas tree, just below it is floor and wall. I'm going to click on that, click the new layer icon, and I'm going to turn on black. And to get black, I just hit D to get the default colors. Turn on a brush, and I'm going to paint with really little bitty amount. Make my brush bigger. Now I'm actually going to be painting behind the box here and the animals and under the tree, and make that kind of have a shadow under there a little bit. And I think that helps to sell that. You can do that under the cat's paws as well. We're way underneath where the cats are, so I can kind of click and add some shadow there, and smaller shadow here under these paws. There you go. So it's a little heavy, and I can just erase that at a very low amount. Make my brush a little bit bigger, and I can kind of shape that a little bit more. There we go. So hopefully you have some fun working on this. It's a very long video, I admit, but there's a lot of stuff in here, and this could be any kind of a card, anything in your border, anything in your text that you want to make it. Have a good time with this. This is going to really be a fun project. All right, you know where to find me if you need me. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye.